What is up, my friends, and all of the VIP members of the Big Dave Club? It is the Big Dave Wrestling Review. How are you doing since the last time? I hope you guys are doing well. I'm doing just fine. We are going to be reviewing Smackdown Live today. After the Raw reunion show that we got on Monday, and it was one of those shows where I'm sure I haven't checked the ratings, but I'm sure it did actually draw a pretty good rating. I actually think they did this to draw ratings and try to get it pop some more eyes on the product before SummerSlam. I do believe it did that. Not so sure it did it in a positive light, though. Reason I say that, I saw a few social media posts on Facebook and other sites where the casual fan or fans, I wouldn't even necessarily call them fans, just people that used to watch the WWE, posted, well, one person in particular that I know, he said, I thought I'd tune in to watch the Raw reunion and it was absolutely horrible. And actually commented that he was watching the beginning of Smackdown. Of course, I record that because I'm at work. So, you got new eyes on the product. I mean, everybody that I talked to today at work was more of a, did you watch Monday Night Raw? Did you watch Raw? Like, everybody knew about the reunion. So, WWE does a good job of pushing a product. Their promotions and stuff like that are always spot on. They do a great job of that. So, I'm sure a lot of people, just because everybody is on Facebook and Instagram, stuff, and people just follow the WWE. I believe they're one of the largest companies followed on social media, or at least they say they are. But, it goes to show how many people they're actually reaching out to and how many eyes at least glance at the WWE on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, even if they're not real diehard fans like us. The Smackville show that's going to be in Nashville in a couple of days, I actually believe, what I've heard is, that's kind of one of the reasons they're doing that. If you notice, there wasn't a lot of notice about this. They announced it. They're going to be in Nashville, going to call it Smackville, and it's going to be on the WWE Network. Short notice type of thing. From what I understand, this is kind of a test run for the WWE, this Smackville deal. They're wanting to see, how successful they can be at a drop of a hat to be ready at any given time, just so they can combat other companies that may do a show at the drop of a hat, like an AEW or a Ring of Honor. These new promotions now are kind of infiltrating and doing these shows, and WWE keeps their product, booked well in advance. So I think this is a way for them to, from what I've heard, is a way for them to kind of figure out what kind of market they have there. I can't think of the word I want to use right now, but it's kind of a test run to see how the tickets will sell, how the ratings will be on the network. So, that's what they're doing with that, and it just goes to show you a lot of people knew about the Raw reunion. They tuned in, and I don't think they got to see a lot of the stuff that they wanted to see. So many people say, well, Stone Cold should go out there and give stunners. Guys, I'm not so sure. Please remind me. I can't remember the last time Austin did an actual stunner in the ring. I want to say he did one recently, but I don't think he's medically cleared to even be doing a stunner. Austin's that one guy who, when he retired, he was done. He looked great on Monday Night Raw. And I'm thinking SmackDown Live, not going to be as good as Raw is what I'm thinking. But, and when I mean good, I mean in ratings, and it's not probably going to get the eyes, that Raw got. But they're going to catch some more than they usually get because of it. Um, so, to be perfectly honest with you guys, I was not mad at this week's SmackDown. I actually rather enjoyed a majority of it. And that's a good thing. I think that's what, maybe two decent SmackDowns in a row, maybe two, in the past 3 to 4 weeks. Uh, the thing I like about the SmackDowns that this SmackDown in particular, is they're actually planting seeds for storylines, and they're continuing, and they're giving us logic with these storylines. So they're doing what they're doing things that we've been asking them to do. So I can't complain about it. I may not like certain things going on. There are still logic gaps in these storylines. There are still, things that really don't make sense. But I know this whole world's going to just collapse when I say this. I believe I see them trying to make a change for the better. Okay? This SmackDown was actually a good SmackDown. And if you remember, everyone is under the impression that this is when Eric Bischoff's going to do his first backstage appearance for SmackDown. Now, I've already discussed he's not going to be really involved in creative, at least I don't believe, as much as everyone thinks he is, especially right now off the jump. He is still getting integrated into the system, understanding how things are working right now. He was not as familiar with the product, I don't think, as the WWE would have liked for him to be coming into this. But neither here nor there. He's now backstage, supposedly, at Tuesday night at SmackDown. So we're going to see how things go. My reason for bringing that up, if you remember, when it was supposedly Paul Heyman's first night, and behind the scenes on Raw, that's when we had the big Braun Strowman, Bobby Lashley stage party, where I like to call, big, when Strowman speared Lashley through the Titantron, the LED board, and Corey Graves made the memorable comment of, holy shit. And everyone was head over heels about that Raw. I was head over heels about the Raw as well. Well, not head over heels. I was optimistic about the Raw until I went back and watched it for the second time and got a better idea what they were doing. They kind of gave us a shit sandwich in that show. They gave us really cool stuff at the beginning, really cool stuff at the end, but everything in the substance in the middle, basically the same old shit. So I was wondering, are they going to try to make this SmackDown better? Assuming people believe that Eric Bischoff is his first night back behind the scenes in Gorilla for the show. Now, before I get into SmackDown and the review, guys, I want to, once again, as always, thank you guys so much for your support. I really do appreciate it, and I really enjoy doing this. I really enjoy these shows. I really enjoy talking about wrestling, even if it's just me sitting down, really not talking to anybody else. I don't know why. This is just therapeutic for me, and I enjoy doing it, and it continues to grow. The YouTube channel is starting to get views now. I've noticed that we're starting to get some more views on YouTube, so that's picking up. We're nowhere, in the big time or anything like that on any of our outlets, but YouTube is picking up random, viewership from YouTube. I don't believe there's anybody that is subscribed to the channels. A lot of the people that are watching it aren't even subscribed, so that lets me know is not just friends that are tuning in to this. There's some people actually seeing it. So if you would like to support the wrestling, Big Dave's Wrestling Review, you can go to anchor.com, look up Big Dave's Wrestling Review. There is a icon there where you can support this show. You can become a VIP member of the Big Dave Club for $1 a month. That's right, guys. For a very little, $1 a month. That helps me produce more material. It helps me do more research. Helps me get better equipment. It helps me promote more for the show. Also, like I said, I am now using apps, and other programs that are costing me money. So, if I can get some money in return, now this is completely optional. You don't have to do it, but it really does help me out. And if you guys want to do that, you can go to anchor.com, go to the Big Dave Wrestling Review, and there is a place there where you can donate a monthly thing. You can do it just for 1 month. If you just want to do it 1 month and then cancel the service, you can do that as well. Follow me, Facebook at David Vaughn Lindsay. On Instagram, follow me at DVL Music. You can also go to the Big Dave Club on Facebook, or you can do that on Instagram. And also, on any media outlet where they have podcasts, you can look up Big Dave Wrestling Review, iTunes, Google, Spotify, and of course Anchor. Big Dave Wrestling Review. Go in there, give me a like, give me a rating, leave a comment, leave a rating so people, when they see the show, they can look and see what other people think about the show. Also on YouTube, just look up Big Dave Wrestling Review. There is a whole channel, Big Dave Wrestling Review. Subscribe to that channel, hit the notification and the little bell, and you will know instantly whenever I post videos on YouTube. Now, guys, we're going to go into a quick break, really quick, and when we get back, we are going to dive in to the Smackdown Live review. But before I do that, guys, before we do that, I just want to go ahead and mention real quick, soon we will be starting this new little spin-off, which is The Adventures of Big Dave. And it's going to be fun. I'm going to have a good time with it. And I'm going to probably just start messing around with it here, this week at some point. So be on the lookout for Adventures of Big Dave, and it will be on the same channel as the Big Dave Wrestling Review. All right, guys, we will be right back reviewing SmackDown Live for July 23rd in Miami, Florida, right after this brief message. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. And the SmackDown Live show from Miami, Florida. Like I said, guys, I really can't shit on this show too hard, man. It was actually a decent show. They gave us some actual build to SummerSlam. With the Raw reunion, I really feel as if they kind of cut their legs out from underneath them on some of the build for the matches on the Raw side of things for SummerSlam. SmackDown, the past couple of weeks, have done a much better job at building onto storylines and building up the hype and just the build for these matches that's coming up for SummerSlam. No Corey Graves at the announce table tonight. He was off tonight for some reason. Of course, Byron Saxton was not there. His father recently passed away, so he is with his father during this time, which is much needed family time. I lost my father 2 years ago, and it's our prayers and everything go out to Byron Saxton and his family as they try to pick up the pieces after major loss of the family. So we totally understand him not being there as well. So once again, Byron Saxton, we are sending our prayers and thoughts out for you and your family. So with Graves not there, Saxton not there, we have Xavier Woods and Big E. They are basically right there at the announce table. They're going to be the announcers with Grisham and David Otunga, who up until a few weeks ago, I forgot was even employed with the company still. Never was a fan of David Otunga. Never was a fan of his commentary. Never was a fan of his wrestling abilities. Just never was really a fan of him. But he has somehow found a way to stick around and be employed with WWE. So kudos to you, man. Way to go. Show starts out typical SmackDown talk or typical WWE talk segment, which as soon as I seen it, I said, shit. It's going to be one of those SmackDowns. Shane comes out to the show, and Kevin Owens, and he's talking about Kevin Owens versus Shane, and that I guess Kevin Owens over Twitter had challenged Shane to a match at SummerSlam, And, of course, Shane McMahon says that Kevin Owens says if he loses that match, he will quit. So Shane McMahon, of course, accepts it. And he shows a promo from last year at some point when, after the match, Kevin Owens sat down in the ring and said, I quit. That's it, I quit. And just walked out. And I believe he was off the show the next week like it never happened. But anyway, Shane McMahon says, Kevin Owens says he'll quit if he loses. He's shown this type of stuff before. He's a quitter, and shows the clip. And as he shows the clip, out comes Kevin Owens afterwards. He says, Shane, I got to give it to you. I've called you a lot of things, but stupid is one thing I have not called you. That was very clever for you to find this. That man there was the guy that I was talking about, the company man who was beat down and didn't give a damn about anything, just didn't want to ruffle any feathers. But I can assure you that I am not that man now. And I will speak my mind, whatever. Yada, 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 yada. So Shane McMahon says something else, and Kevin Owens basically says, well, we don't have to wait until SummerSlam. We can do it right now. Starts to head to the ring where Shane McMahon's at. Shane McMahon tells him, hold on, don't take another step. If you want your match on SummerSlam, if you want your match at SummerSlam, if you come in this ring, you're not going to get it. And he stops. The crowd boos. Shane McMahon then turns around and says, that's what you call power. Don't boo me. That's what you call power. Great line by Shane. I liked that. It was a real dick move. So that was cool. Thought it was funny. He says, I see you that you're fired up. And since you're so fired up, tonight we're going to give you the main event when you're going to go one-on-one with Roman Reigns. So we're going to get the face Roman Reigns and the new face Kevin Owens against each other in the main event, Smackdown. This isn't a match that I really care to see. I honestly don't like there's nothing there that interests me, but I understand what they're doing. Shane McMahon's had issues with Roman Reigns. He's had issues with Kevin Owens. So what better way to destroy a country to make it bicker within itself? What better way to destroy your enemy than to have them fighting out against each other? And that's what they're going to do for the main event. Before we go to a commercial break, you see Shinsuke Nakamura walking backstage, and he has his Intercontinental Championship around his waist. It looks great on him. I love Shinsuke as the Intercontinental Champion. Come back from the commercial break, you have Elias backstage with Shane and Drew McIntyre. Elias says Shane is a genius, and he says, I know because of this match, you're a genius putting Roman against Kevin Owens. Shane says, you know what, this match needs a special guest referee, and I'm going to pick Drew McIntyre to be the special guest referee. There's going to be a special guest timekeeper. That's going to be you, Elias, as he points down to his wrist as if he has a watch on. And Elias says something like, yeah, I've always got my watch. I'm great at that. He doesn't even have a watch on. It's bracelets. And then he says, and I, Shane McMahon, will be the special guest ring announcer. So you already know at the main event, we're going to have shenanigans. We're going to have bullshit. It's not going to be a real match. Then we go into Shinsuke Nakamura, and he's facing Apollo Crews. Here's the deal. Apollo Crews, great wrestler in the ring, could do a lot of things. There's really no bad thing I could say about his talents inside the squared circle. Solid competitor, good worker, great physique, a little short, but he's, like they always say, he's explosive. He reminds me of just a little, cannonball, just a little stick of dynamite, man, and he's chiseled. He's got the look. Like I said, he's just short. But that's not what holds him back, in my opinion, other than not getting TV time, which, holds him back more than anything. The thing that holds him back the most, to me, is he lacks a little bit of charisma. He's not really that great on the stick. He doesn't have a whole lot of charisma. But, there's other wrestlers that have been successful that have not been good behind the mic or, don't have that charisma factor. But the difference is those wrestlers get an opportunity to wrestle and show off their skill in the ring. And that's why the fans take to them, and that's why they get over. Not built or based upon the entertainment factor or the talking up of the match, but the actual work that they do in the ring outshines that. A perfect example of that, and hate to bring up bad news, but Chris Benoit was a perfect example of that. Wasn't that great on the mic, didn't have a whole lot of charisma, but he got over because of his in-ring work. Dean Malenko, another guy that never really had a lot of charisma. Now, he wasn't a huge star, but everyone respected Dean Malenko because of his in-ring work. Eddie Guerrero at first, before he was, the lie, cheat, and steal, and actually got to open up and be himself a little bit and show off his creative side on that end. He was one of those guys that wasn't great behind the mic, but had great in-ring work. So Apollo Crews, to me, could fall into that same category, but we've got to see more of him. Perfect example, him and Shinsuke Nakamura tonight put on a great match. We did get the picture-in-picture advertisement at some point during the match, which is fine. I'd much rather that instead of, 2 out of 3 or an elimination match. But these guys, they were given some time, and they put on a good match. There was one spot in the match that I was very impressed with. Apollo Crews has Shinsuke Nakamura up in one of those, stalling suplex where he just holds the guy up in the air. And he's got Shinsuke up there in that suplex for, it had to be 60 seconds at least. It felt like it. Long delayed stalling suplex. Beautiful maneuver. I love seeing that. They come back from the ad break, and Shinsuke Nakamura and Apollo Crews, they've been wrestling, they're having a good match. I love this move where Shinsuke does that sliding German suplex, snap German suplex, where he slides under the ring and throws him to the ground. He does that sliding snap German. He gets off Apollo Crews, hits a high angle slam. They go back and forth. Shinsuke Nakamura wins at the end of it, but it was a solid match. There's a beatdown afterwards after he wins. Shinsuke, of course, beats down Apollo Crews, sets him up for the Kinshasa down the ramp. Shinsuke looks strong, so I'm not mad at it. Good match. If you give these guys opportunity, give them time to do the work, they can put on good matches. Will this be a storyline? To be perfectly honest with you, I'm not really interested in seeing Shinsuke Nakamura and Apollo Crews at SummerSlam. If that's what they give us, that's what they give us. But I still liked this match, and I thought it was a good match that they put on. All right. Then they go, this is funny, man. This was a funny part of the night. Now, before I get started telling this little skit here, now, evidently, I haven't seen it, but I've heard other people talk about it. They've started up another Give Women's Wrestling tweet hashtag movement thing again, like they did years ago when it was, supposedly the boom of getting a lot of these NXT women up to the main roster. I think that's about the time they called up. Maybe I'm wrong, but I want to say when they called up Bayley and Becky and Charlotte. I could be wrong there, so please don't quote me on that. But they did this whole movement a few years ago, like give women's wrestling or a chance or something, and evidently they've started that up again here recently. I don't understand why they would be saying that, because personally, I don't know if you noticed, but last year's WrestleMania, the last WrestleMania we had, the main event was the women's championship match. It was the first time women had even had the main event at WrestleMania, and so I don't know why they're going on this rant right now. But if you're wondering why we don't see more women's wrestling and more women on the show at times, you don't have to look very much further Then this next segment, when we go backstage, we have a shot of Sonya Deville sitting backstage, and Mandy Rose comes and covers her eyes and says, "Guess who?" And of course, she knows who it is. It's her BFF, Mandy. She says, "Well, I went and I told Shane McMahon about how the Iconics were laughing when Kevin Owens was making fun of him." And she says, "Oh, really?" And she said, "Yep." And it worked because next week we get we get a shot at the Iconics, the tag team women's champions. All right? This is what Mandy Rose says. She says, "Next week we get a match with the tag team women's champions, the Iconics." And Sonya Deville replies with, let me see if I get this right. "So we get a title match next week?" And Mandy replies with, "Yep. And if we win, we deserve a tag team title match." You dummies. This is the reason why we don't see more of you on TV. Because basically you just said, we're going to get a title match. And she asked you, are we going to get a title match next week? Yep. And if we win, we get a title match. You know, you have one segment the whole week, your little 2-3 minute segment, if that, to set you up for next week. You have, you know, the old meme, you had one job. You had one job. You didn't even have that hard of a script there. It was not that hard to remember. And you word it incorrectly. First off, I'm assuming, I don't know who screwed it up, but they both screwed it up. And stuff like that will, I'm telling you, little mistakes like that will get you less opportunity. Okay? Less opportunity when you make mistakes like that. So, after that, we go to a Mustafa Ali promo. Ali says he's going to write his own story. He holds the pen and says that he will be the WWE champion. And, everyone will talk about his story. Good for you, Ali. I hope he does come back, and I hope he has a good push because I like Mustafa Ali. I think he deserves it. And I see his gimmick and the way, like his ring entrance and his, flashing lights and all that stuff, man. And when I see that, man, if I'm, a promoter or a booker or have anything to do with a business like this, I see that and I'm just thinking dollar signs, man. The kids are going to eat up Mustafa Ali with this entrance, and you can sell those gloves and you can sell the mask and kids dressing up to be like Mustafa Ali for Halloween, things like that, and he's a smaller guy. So that lets you know, like, the kids will get behind a smaller competitor because they could kind of imagine them being that guy, because they're not big like, the adults. But Ali, I'd like to see him come back soon. I don't know if he'll be back in time for SummerSlam, but maybe Ali will, when he does come back, can give a good argument to say he should be one of the number one contenders for the title because he was hurt, and that's the reason Kofi got his chance, and that's the reason Kofi is right now the WWE champion. We'll get to that later. That actually plays out. After this, we have Miz TV. Now, it was announced that Shawn Michaels was supposed to be the guest commentator for tonight's Smackdown. But when it started out, we saw the New Day, and for some reason, they said, well, we were going to have Shawn Michaels here, but now he's going to be the guest on Miz TV, so he's not going to be the guest commentator. So instead, we get a Miz TV segment, and, guys, I was the biggest Miz hater at the beginning of his career. I thought he was a joke. I was one of those guys that did not believe in the Miz. And I am, proud to admit that he proved me wrong. He overcame his obstacles. He got over. He was the WWE champion, headlined WrestleMania, walked out of WrestleMania as the champion. So kudos to him, and he's had a great career. And but he is so much better as a heel than he'll ever be as a face. And I get it. They're trying to push it. Miz being a heel, a face right now, and he is getting cheered, but it's just his characters. It just doesn't fit him, in my opinion, as a face. But like I said, he gets the crowd. He gets the crowd into him, and they believe in him. What I believe this will do is eventually, when Miz does finally turn back to a heel, hopefully this will just make his next heel run that much better, because he's was over as a face a little bit, but he's nowhere as over now as a face as he was when he was a heel. So a special guest referee HBK promo comes in for the Raw reunion. They talk about all the fun they had. They said they celebrated the stars of yesterday, and they mingled with the stars of today, which is complete bullshit, because it was basically just the stars of yesterday. The only legend that put anybody over on Raw reunion was Mick Foley, and he put over Bray Wyatt. Pretty cool. But as he's in there, they do the promo for the Raw reunion, and says Seth was kind of inducted to the member of DX last night. Then we hear Dolph Ziggler's music. Dolph Ziggler comes out, and again, I'm like, gag me with a spoon. I'm tired. I mean, Dolph Ziggler has gotten stale ever since his return. It's just kind of like, I don't care. I don't care that Dolph's here. I don't really have any invested interest in what Dolph's doing or saying. None of this matters. But this promo was different. Dolph says he's tired of guys coming in, taking, the legends, taking away from the, young talent. And Dolph comes out and says, I used to idolize you. Key emphasis on the word used to idolize you. But every chance you got, you'd come strutting down here to wave to the cameras, and it was embarrassing. It was an embarrassing, like Goldberg in the ring embarrassing. That right there, I popped for that. I was like, "Ooh, preach it, Dolph." We're talking about Goldberg and how much I despise him. So I'm on your side when you're talking shit about Goldberg. He said it was embarrassing. Your match when you came back, it was embarrassing. He said when he come back, it broke his heart. He said it was just embarrassing. And Shawn Michaels comes up to him and says, I was embarrassed. I was disappointed in myself. But I would not be as embarrassing as climbing and fighting your way all the way to the top just to be compared just to be known as a second-rate Shawn Michaels wannabe. Then the Miz finally tells Dolph, shut up, just do something about it. In this company, you got to make it for yourself. Bicker, bicker, bicker. Dolph goes to hit HBK. HBK moves out of the way. He ends up hitting the Miz. HBK goes to turn to check on the Miz. When he turns around, Dolph Ziggler hits HBK with a super kick. I liked it. I liked this segment. It added some realism when he's talking about HBK being in there and being embarrassing. Because we all know that the last match he had at Saudi Arabia, actually, I'm not even going to lie to you guys, I didn't even watch that match all the way. I heard how bad it was, and I didn't want to remember Shawn Michaels in that light. So I'll probably go back and watch it sometime just to see, but from everything I heard, it was a horrible match, and that Shawn Michaels looked bad in the match. But it was a nice segment. It like I said, it added some flair, and that's some realism and some flair into Dolph Ziggler that he has not had in a long time. It's hinting around that we might get Dolph Ziggler and Shawn Michaels at SummerSlam. I am cool with that, because I know Dolph Ziggler, at the end of the day, is one of the best workers in the ring, and he can have a good match with Shawn Michaels. Personally, I'd like to see Shawn Michaels versus AJ Styles, but maybe we'll get that at, I don't know, maybe we get that at WrestleMania or something like that. But we next have Charlotte Flair versus Ember Moon for the first time ever, and I'm thinking, why are they giving us this match on Smackdown? First time ever. Well, it's less than 60 seconds because basically Bayley's music comes out, and while Charlotte is distracted, Ember Moon rolls her up for a quick pin. She goes outside, celebrates with Bayley. Moon throws Bayley in the ring. Charlotte Flair hits Bayley with one of her moves. Ember Moon comes in, hits Charlotte Flair with the Eclipse, then hits Bayley with the Eclipse. Are we maybe moving to a heel Ember Moon? If so, that's cool. Whatever. But then again, here we go. We've got Charlotte Flair. I guarantee you, some way, somehow, is going to find her way into the championship there. Maybe not. She did say that she was going to find a competitor for SummerSlam that was better than Ember Moon and Bayley. And I can only suspect that she's talking about Ronda Rousey. Is the only person that I can think of, because it has been rumored that Ronda will be back for SummerSlam. If that's the case, guys, you got 3 weeks to build up for Ronda Rousey at SummerSlam. If it would be Ronda Rousey, I would assume that they would maybe, want to promote that. But anyway, we have the match with Kofi Kingston. We have the segment next where Kofi Kingston says he's going to announce his opponent. Now, if you remember, I told you guys that I would like to see Randy Orton and Kofi Kingston at SummerSlam if they include the realism, a little bit of that realism from the real beef that they had years ago. Okay? And like I said, when Randy Orton had that moment in that match with Kofi Kingston where Kofi Kingston messed up a spot, after that, Kofi didn't get a push after that. Kofi's push ended real quick. So that's actually mentioned here. Kofi Kingston says he hopes he's still the champion at SummerSlam, and he was going to challenge Randy Orton. Randy Orton comes out. Kofi Kingston says, I've been waiting a long time for this. Go to November 10th at Madison Square Garden, 2009. It was night. I was whipping your ass all over the stadium, and that was supposed to be my night, but Randy Orton, you held me down. But now look at me because I've become your WWE champion. Does this whole WWE. Cool. I liked it. I liked everything about it. Randy then says, you're saying I held you down? I used my influence to hold you down? Randy says, you're damn right I did. But I did you a favor because you wasn't ready then and you're still not ready. See, I didn't have to come out and fake a Jamaican accent or throw pancakes and shake my ass to get where I am. All I had to do was be Randy Orton. I absolutely loved this. I thought this was great. I was happy that Randy Orton went back to being that dickhead Randy Orton. And I was happy to see that, they're putting that realism into it. They're building a storyline, kind of like they're doing with Natalie and Becky on Raw. They're building the storyline and they're adding to it. They're, building up for the big moment, okay? And when like I said, if they did this right with Kofi and Randy Orton, it could be a really, really good segment with these two guys. And I'm excited now to see what they do at SummerSlam. I personally hope that they don't add anyone else to it. Later on in that evening, Kofi Kingston is after this segment, it's Kofi versus Samoa Joe. Now, Samoa Joe and Randy Orton kind of having words as Randy Orton's leaving, so Randy decides he's going to stick around and watch the match. Okay? Now, what ends up happening in this match, Randy Orton comes in to give Kofi Kingston an RKO. But this, to me, is very important. He doesn't get the RKO. Kofi somehow gets out of it. All right. They're staring each other down. Disqualification on the mat. Match is over. Samoa Joe kind of grabs Randy Orton and bam, hits him with the RKO. As Randy Orton's getting up from that, there's Kofi, hits him with the Trouble in Paradise. It makes Kofi look strong, and it keeps the RKO strong at the same time there. To me, Randy Orton not getting that RKO on Kofi just yet is very, very smart. I would not be surprised if we see Randy Orton beat Kofi at SummerSlam for the title because, you know, Kofi has had an amazing run with the belt. He has faced off with some good competitors with, you know, Daniel Bryan and Dolph Ziggler, and I believe he fought Kevin Owens for the title as well. Randy Orton is he's that upper echelon guy. You know, if Kofi beats Randy Orton at SummerSlam, that really is going to submit his title reign. I do see Kofi losing the belt eventually, like I said, after WrestleMania. You know, I don't think he'll be the champion forever. I do see him losing the belt before October when they go to Fox. And I think just because they want a big name, a noticeable name, a name that everybody knows and is legitimately looks like a world champion badass. And no offense to Kofi, but instead of having your world champion come out throwing pancakes and dancing with a trombone player and gyrating your hips and stuff like that, that's all fine and dandy, but, you know, they're wanting to go more of a sports element at Fox. So I don't think that WWE wants their first impression on the Fox network, their first champion coming over from the Fox to the Fox network, to be that type of guy. Randy Orton, on the other hand, would be a very, very creditable champion for their launch in October on Fox. Me personally, I would like to see Kofi win this match at SummerSlam because it's like another feel-good moment for Kofi. It's like he overcome his last, like, hey, you held me down, said I'd never be here, said I'd never be the champion. You did everything in your power to stop me. And not only did I achieve that goal that you said I wouldn't achieve, I also achieved it, and I beat you on a grand stage like SummerSlam. After that, come back for the rematch or something with Randy, or if you must get the title off Kofi, which, you know, I hate to admit it, I do agree that they need to have a different champion on the show of Smackdown in October when they go to Fox. Just my personal opinion. But Kofi, however long you keep this title, I have enjoyed your title reign, and you have earned it. You were one of those guys that I always knew you had the talent, but I just wasn't really behind Kofi Kingston like some people. But throughout the years, these guys earned your respect. And Kofi Kingston deserved that opportunity and deserved that title. So we'll see what happens with that. After that, we come back. We have Finn Balor, and we haven't seen him, I don't believe, since the debut of Bray Wyatt when he came out and gave him the Sister Abigail. Finn Balor comes out to do an interview, and basically he says that, you know, he wants to challenge the Fiend, Bray Wyatt, whatever you call yourself. I want to challenge you to a match at SummerSlam. Now, many people are aware that Finn Balor has requested a few months off, and because he is getting married, and he wants to, you know, kind of recharge, reboot. Many people speculated that the attack on him on Raw when Bray debuted would be his way of getting out and off of TV. I've also heard it speculated that Eric Bischoff, I believe, or Paul Heyman won, pushed for Finn Balor to at least stick around till SummerSlam. So we're going to see this match. And during Balor's interview, you hear the Firefly Funhouse music hit, the happy-go-lucky music. And on the Titantron, you see Bray Rogers, as many people are calling this character. And he's got Ramblin' Rabbit and Mercy the Buzzard. And, he's talking about how, he's just being good, happy-go-lucky Bray Wyatt. And he says, well, the Fiend accepts. And then they cut the little segment where it goes back and forth between the Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, and, a little spooky segment. So we're going to get that match at SummerSlam. Two things I think here could happen on this. Now, obviously, Bray Wyatt's going to win the match. And that's going to lead to Finn taking a little bit of a break there. I would like to see the Fiend versus the Demon King, and the Demon King lose to Bray, because everyone's built it up. If you don't follow NXT, you don't know this, but everyone builds it up that the Demon King is undefeated. He cannot be beat when he's the Demon King. Have Bray Wyatt come in as the Fiend, beat the Demon Finn Balor. That takes the pressure off of him losing in that situation, and everybody assumes that Finn's going to win when he's the Demon King. This takes that away now. He can still be beat as the Demon King. Do that. Then when Finn comes back, he's a little heelish. Bray Wyatt manipulated his soul, and now he's turned a new leaf, and he joins up with the OC, AJ Styles, and the Good Brothers. That would be cool. Or also see it, Fiend versus the regular Finn Balor. He destroys him. That way, when Finn comes back, he'll come back as the Demon King, and they'll face off. And I don't know if Bray would win that or not, but if they did that, I'm assuming that Finn would win. I want the first scenario to come true. I'm not big on the second one because, number one, I want to see Finn join up with the club. Number two, I want to see, Bray Wyatt stay strong with his character. And if Finn's just gone 2 months, comes back, and now he's the Demon King again, I would assume the Demon King would come over because it's a return, or go over because it's a return, and I don't want to see that. But anyway, so that's going to be the match we're going to see at SummerSlam. We go to the main event, which we all know there's going to be some fuckery afoot. Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens. Everything you thought that happened would happen did. Basically, in the match, Drew McIntyre's kind of being, really breaking them up and pushing them, being a dick. Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns basically just beat up Drew McIntyre. They beat up Elias. They beat up Shane McMahon. And they look strong at the end, Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns. There's one moment, though, that I don't know if anyone else caught it, but I did, where afterwards, Roman Reigns is leaving the ring. It cuts to a shot where Kevin Owens says, "This is my show," which he's been saying lately. And when he says, "This is my show," it shows a quick view of Roman Reigns kind of rolling his eyes and shaking his head a little bit, like there could be a little dissension. Like, no, this ain't your show, motherfucker. I'm the big dog. It's my show. I'd love to see that lead into Roman Reigns turning heel. Please give us a heel Roman Reigns before he retires. Don't do him like Cena. Guys, that's going to wrap it up. That's basically what you had for SmackDown. Like I said, there's storylines there that they're building. I see them trying to do better. Guys, it wasn't a bad SmackDown. It was a good SmackDown. And they again, they're giving us some things that we've been asking for. Again, I do not believe that Eric Bischoff has really any major control at all on the show yet. I'm not so sure that Eric Bischoff is basically just there to have good relations with the Fox network, and Paul Heyman's got more creative control on both shows. But we'll see how everything plays out in the future. Thank you guys so much again. I appreciate all of your support, all your love. Big Dave Wrestling Review. Just Google it. Look it up on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify. Big Dave Wrestling Review on YouTube. You go to YouTube, hit the like, the notifications, click the bell icon, and you'll know exactly when I'm dropping a new episode. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you so much. And be sure you share this with your friends. Be on the lookout for the Adventures of Big Dave, going to be coming out sometime this week. Ladies and gentlemen, I enjoy this so much. And we will see you next time on Big Dave's Wrestling Review.